On January 26, 1968, 19-year-old Linda Slawson heads up a driveway, thinking it's her next sales appointment. She's got her sample encyclopedias tucked under her arm, hoping to earn enough commission to chip away at college costs. The guy working in his yard, Jerry Brutus, seems friendly enough when she explains she's looking for a customer. He smiles and says, "Come on down to the basement. We can check out those books more comfortably there." Linda follows, chatting excitedly about her encyclopedias, totally unaware she's walking straight into a nightmare. Within minutes, she'd become the first victim of a guy whose obsession with women's shoes had turned into something far deadlier. Her disappearance kicked off a 15-month killing spree that shook Oregon to its core, exposing the terrifying truth about what can lurk behind a normal-looking guy. Before we dive into this chilling story, if you're into true crime like this, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Your support keeps us digging into cases about some of America's most notorious criminals. Jerry Brutus's story starts on January 31, 1939, in Webster, South Dakota. He was the younger of two boys born to Marie Eileen and Henry Irvin Brutus. From day one, Jerry faced rejection that would mess him up for life. His mom desperately wanted a girl for her second kid, and when she got another boy, her disappointment turned into straight-up resentment. This wasn't just a mom being bummed out, it was ongoing emotional abuse. Marie made it crystal clear she didn't want Jerry, constantly putting him down while favoring his older brother, James. She'd remind Jerry he was unwanted, that she'd hoped for a daughter instead. That kind of rejection from the person supposed to love you most left scars that messed with every relationship Jerry ever tried to have. His dad, Henry, was a hot-tempered guy who worked seasonal jobs, making the family bounce around the Pacific Northwest. Henry wasn't physically abusive, but he was emotionally distant. Marie, though, was harsh and controlling, saving most of her cruelty for Jerry. They eventually settled on a farm in Salem, Oregon, where Jerry's childhood took an even darker turn, and his deadly obsession started to grow. Jerry's fixation on women's shoes started when he was just 5, sparked by two incidents that shaped his whole life. First, he saw a teenage girl napping on his bed after his parents let her rest there when she felt sick. Jerry later said he was frozen with fascination by her high-heeled shoes and tried to take them off her feet. The girl woke up and told him to get out. Around the same time, at a local junkyard, Jerry found a pair of leather high-heeled shoes with rhinestone clasps among the trash. He was hooked, took them home, and put them on to show his mom. Marie flipped out, screaming that he was wicked and demanding he return them to the junkyard. But Jerry kept them hidden. When his mom found out he'd been wearing them in secret, she lost it, beat him severely, and made him watch as she burned the shoes. This cycle, stealing women's shoes and underwear, hiding them, getting caught, and facing brutal punishment, kept repeating, only making his obsession and resentment toward women worse. By his teens, Jerry's behavior got creepier. He was a sickly kid with few friends, always complaining about throat pains and migraines, and only pulling average grades while his brother shone. By puberty, his shoe fetish had grown into an obsession with women's underwear and lingerie. The neighborhood kid with older sisters showed Jerry how to sneak into bedrooms to touch and smell women's undergarments, which sparked intense feelings he didn't fully get. As a teenager, Jerry started stealing underwear from clotheslines and breaking into homes, not for money, but for women's shoes and clothes. He'd wear the stolen stuff himself. His crimes were still small-time, but they were escalating. He also started stalking local women, secretly snapping photos and fantasizing about controlling them by force. At 16, he dug an underground tunnel and alcove near his family's home, picturing it as a place to keep women captive. His fantasies soon turned real. At 16, he lured a neighborhood girl to his bedroom on some innocent pretext. Once there, he left, only to come back wearing a mask and waving a knife. He forced her to strip while he took photos, then ran off. Minutes later, he reappeared with messy hair and a scuff mark on his cheek, claiming an intruder had attacked him and locked him in the barn. This became his routine. He'd abduct girls at knife point, take them to the family barn, make them undress, photograph them, then lock them in a corn crib. He'd come back later in different clothes, pretending to be Ed, his fake twin brother, acting shocked about their ordeal. claiming Jerry wasn't well and promising to destroy the photos. None of these girls reported him, apparently buying the twin story. More importantly, none were physically assaulted beyond minor touching. But in April 1956, at 17, Jerry crossed a line he couldn't walk back. He convinced a 17-year-old girl to go on a date with him. On a deserted road, he told her to undress. When she refused, he dragged her out of the car and beat her, breaking her nose. Her screams caught the attention of a passing couple who stepped in. Jerry first claimed she fell from the car, then said some weirdo attacked her and he fought them off. The couple didn't buy it and took both teens to the police. Under questioning, Jerry admitted to the attack but said he just wanted to scare her into stripping for photos. He denied any prior incidents. Police searched his room and found a huge stash of women's clothes and Polaroid photos of teenage girls. When they contacted one girl from the photos, she spilled about her encounter with Jerry's twin the previous August. Jerry was arrested for assault and battery and sent to the Polk County Juvenile Department, then to Oregon State Hospital for a 9-month psychiatric evaluation while still attending high school. Doctors decided he had a depressive personality with schizotypal traits, but wasn't delusional or severely mentally ill. They noted his sexual fantasies were tied to a deep hatred for his mom and women in general. After his release, Jerry went back to his parents' home and graduated 142nd out of 202 students from Corvallis High School in 1957. In March 1959, he joined the Army as a communications technician. He was skilled but unremarkable, except for spinning tales about a beautiful Korean girl who supposedly visited his bed nightly. He was discharged in October 1959 as psychologically unfit and moved back home, landing a job as an electrical engineer at a radio station. To co-workers, he seemed mild-mannered and competent, though unambitious despite his broadcast technician license. But Jerry's calm exterior was a lie. Around 1960, he started attacking women again, strangling two into semi-consciousness and stealing their shoes. Neither was raped and he wasn't caught. In 1960, he met 17-year-old Ralphine Schwindler through a teen electronics enthusiast at the station. They married on September 30th, 1961, when she was 1 month pregnant. They lived in Portland before moving to a small house in Salem in 1968. They had 2 kids, a daughter and a son. Jerry wasn't abusive to Ralphine but made odd demands, like having her do housework naked in high heels while he photographed her before sex. She went along with it for years. He built a workshop in their garage, supposedly for electronics, and banned his family from entering without using an intercom. They didn't know it was where he stashed his growing collection of women's shoes, underwear, cameras, and gear he'd soon use for much worse. By the mid-1960s, Jerry's facade started cracking. As their daughter Teresa grew into a toddler needing more attention, Ralphine stopped doing the nude photo sessions, especially with their kid around. Jerry had also gained weight, and though Ralphine never said it, she found him less attractive. Their intimacy faded, with Ralphine focusing on the kids and social life, while Jerry hid in his workshop. In May 1967, while Ralphine was in the hospital giving birth to their second child, Jerry's violent urges came back. He followed a woman in high heels to her apartment, waited until night, broke in, and choked her unconscious. He later said he hadn't planned to assault her, but seeing her limp body aroused him, so he raped her and stole her shoes. The next year, Corvallis police caught him at an Oregon State University women's dorm, stealing clothes while wearing women's pedal pushers, high heels, and underwear. Somehow he dodged serious consequences and went home. This set the stage for his worst escalation yet. On January 26, 1968, 19-year-old Linda Catherine Slawson, a door-to-door encyclopedia saleswoman, made a fatal mistake. She mixed up Jerry's address with a neighbor's and knocked on his door, thinking she had a sales appointment. Jerry was in his yard, and when she explained her purpose, he acted interested and invited her to the basement to talk. As Linda sat on a stool showing her encyclopedias, Jerry hit her head with a piece of wood and strangled her to death. He hid her body under the basement stairs, then sent his mom and daughter out for burgers so he could be alone with it. Undressing her, he found she was wearing red lingerie, which thrilled him. He spent hours dressing and redressing her body in different shoes and underwear from his collection, taking photos and engaging in necrophilia. He later cut off her left foot with a hacksaw, keeping it in the basement freezer to use as a model for his shoe collection and fantasies. He kept her 2 encyclopedias as souvenirs. He tied the rest of her body to a car part and dumped it in Marion County, later claiming he forgot where. Her body was never found. Jerry's second victim was 23-year-old Jan Susan Whitney on November 26, 1968. He spotted her and 2 hitchhikers by their broken-down car on Interstate 5 between Salem and Albany. He offered to fix it but said he needed tools from home. Whitney and the hitchhikers agreed, but only if the hitchhikers were dropped off first. After dropping them off, Jerry drove Whitney to his house and parked. He went inside, supposedly for tools, but snuck back and asked her to close her eyes and described tying a shoelace without moving her hands. Thinking it was a game, she complied. Jerry strangled her with a leather strap from behind and raped her body in the car. He carried her to his garage workshop, dressed her in various shoes and lingerie, and committed necrophilia repeatedly. He hung her body from a pulley for 2 days, violating it whenever he wanted. He cut off one of her breasts, planning to make it a paperweight with epoxy. But when it didn't set, he stuffed it with sawdust and pinned it to a board. 2 days after the murder, a car crashed into his garage, making a hole. A cop looked through but missed the body in the dark. That night, Jerry tied Whitney's body to scrap railroad iron and dumped it in the Willamette River with Linda Slawson's decomposing foot. On March 27, 1969, Jerry abducted 18-year-old Karen Elena Sprinker, an Oregon State University chemistry student, at gunpoint from a Meyer and Frank department store parking lot. She was heading to meet her mom for lunch when Jerry, dressed in women's clothes, spotted her. He'd been drawn to the lot by another woman in heels and a miniskirt but lost her. Seeing Karen, he forced her into his car, promising not to hurt her. At his workshop, she begged for her life, saying she'd do anything. Jerry asked if she was a virgin. She said yes and mentioned she was on her period. He raped her on the floor, made her pose in heels and underwear for photos, then tied her hands and put a rope around her neck. When she said the rope was too tight, he threw it over a beam and pulled, lifting her off the ground. She kicked briefly and died. He committed necrophilia for hours and cut off her breasts to make plastic molds. That evening, he tied her body to a 6-cylinder engine part and dumped it in the Willamette River. In April 1969, Jerry's confidence led him to try abducting 2 women on back-to-back days. Both got away and reported him. On April 21st, 24-year-old Sharon Wood met Jerry in a Portland parking garage basement. He tapped her shoulder, pointed a pistol at her face, and told her not to scream. He tried to restrain her, but she fought back, biting his hand and kicking until he slammed her head into the concrete and fled. The next day, he approached 15-year-old Gloria Jean Smith with a gun, saying, "Come with me, I won't hurt you or rape you." He grabbed her coat to force her toward a green Volkswagen Carmen Ghia, but when she saw a woman in a yard, she screamed and ran to her. Jerry bolted. Smith described him as early 30s, about 6 feet, 200 pounds, wearing dark glasses. Police checked known sex offenders matching the description, but found no leads. On April 23, 1969, Jerry claimed his last victim, 22-year-old Linda Dawn Saley, a secretary and part-time Portland State University student. She'd bought birthday gifts for her fiancé at Lloyd Center Mall and was heading to her car when Jerry showed her a fake police badge, claiming she was under arrest for shoplifting. Despite her protests, she followed him to his car, where he said she was being kidnapped for ransom. He drove to his garage and told her to follow him inside, thinking his wife and kids weren't home. When his wife appeared on the porch to say dinner was ready, he signaled Linda to stay put, told his wife he'd be in soon, and took Linda to the garage. He bound her with cord and went to eat with his family. When he returned, Linda had freed herself but hadn't tried to escape, maybe realizing it was hopeless. She fought when he put a leather strap around her neck, asking, "Why are you doing this?" She scratched and kicked as he lifted her off the ground but soon passed out. He strangled her while raping her, then hung her body from the workshop pulley. In a sick experiment, he inserted hypodermic needles under her armpits and ran electrical current through them, hoping to make her body move. When it didn't work, he stopped. He kept her body for 24 hours, violating it again before tying it to a vehicle gearbox and dumping it in the Willamette River. On May 10, 1969, two fishermen found what they thought was a package in the Long Tom River, but it was Linda Slawson's bound, bloated body, weighted with a gearbox and wrapped in electrician-style copper wire. The coroner couldn't confirm rape due to decomposition, but ruled strangulation as the cause of death. They found needle marks with burns under her armpits, done after death. 2 days later, divers found Karen Sprinker's body 20 yards away, weighted with an engine head and bound with the same cord and wire. Her autopsy showed strangulation or smothering, with both breasts severed post-mortem. The similar methods, wire, car parts, precise knots, told police they had one killer, likely skilled in electrical work and mechanics. They started questioning garage and junkyard workers across Western Oregon. Meanwhile, Karen's classmates said a man claiming to be a Vietnam vet had been calling women for dates. Most hung up, but one went out with him, describing him as Caucasian, late 20s or early 30s, overweight, with thinning reddish-blonde hair and freckles, driving a station wagon with kids' clothes inside. The date was creepy, and he made odd comments like, "Think of those two girls found in the river," and later asked why she went out with him. When she said curiosity, he replied, "How did you know I wouldn't take you to the river and strangle you?" On May 18, 1969, a week after Linda Slawson's body was found, Jerry called that student again. He was arrested that evening heading to their meeting spot. He gave his real name, age, and job, but a fake address. With no grounds to hold him, police let him go. But a background check showed his history of violence against women. Vehicle records placed him in Portland during Linda Slawson's disappearance and near Karen Sprinker's abduction site. His mother owned a Volkswagen Carmen Ghia, which he drove the day Gloria Smith was attacked. Smith identified him as her attacker, giving police enough for a search warrant. On May 26th, they searched his property and found a huge stash of women's lingerie and shoes, sorority and dorm phone numbers, and Polaroids of women, some alive, some clearly dead, all taken in his garage. One photo showed a dead woman hanging from the pulley with a mirror below, reflecting Jerry holding the camera. Another was Karen Sprinker, nude except for heels, looking scared and resigned. They found a severed breast coated in epoxy on the living room mantel, copper wire and rope matching the river victim's bindings, and scattered engine parts. The evidence was damning. By May 29th, police arrested Jerry for Gloria Smith's attempted abduction, catching him hiding under a blanket in the family station wagon as his wife drove toward Portland. He called her from jail, asking her to destroy evidence, but she refused. Under questioning, he denied the murders at first, calling the evidence circumstantial, but slowly opened up about his fetishes and their grip on his life. By early June, he confessed to all 4 murders, starting with Linda Slawson, whose case wasn't linked to him since her body was missing. He detailed each killing and attempted abduction, admitting responsibility but dodging questions about premeditation, saying, "There must be something wrong with me." He denied hating women but said killing let off steam. Psychiatrists said he couldn't find satisfaction in normal sex, with lust driving his crimes. Even chance encounters with victims were premeditated murders in his mind. On June 4, 1969, he was charged with the murders of Jan Whitney, Karen Sprinker, and Linda Slawson. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but exams found him sane and competent. On June 27, 3 days before trial, he pleaded guilty to all 3 murders. Judge Val Sloper sentenced him to 3 consecutive life terms, with parole possibility, at Oregon State Penitentiary. In a strange twist, Ralphine was charged as an accessory to Karen Sprinker's murder, based on a claim she helped force a blanketed woman into their home. Other witnesses disproved this, and she was acquitted in October 1969. Jerry was never tried for Linda Slawson's murder, since prosecutors lacked evidence without her body, despite his confession and photos of her severed foot. In prison, Jerry was a model inmate, handling clerical work, maintaining computers, and installing cable TV. He was attacked by other inmates as a sex offender but never snitched. He was allowed to order catalogs of women modeling shoes and underwear, which he used for fantasies. He attended parole hearings, but victims' families fought his release. On June 21, 1995, he was told he'd die in prison. though he kept attending hearings every 2 years. In interviews, he showed no remorse. To Detective Jim Burns, he crumpled a paper, tossed it, and said he cared about his victims as much as that paper. Psychiatrist Michael Stone called him a psychopath with zero remorse. Jerry died of liver cancer on March 28, 2006 at 67, after nearly 37 years as Oregon's longest-serving inmate. Jan Whitney's sister cried upon hearing of his death, not for him but for her family's pain, saying, "He put our family through hell." Detective James Stovall said, "I'm satisfied he's dead. Good riddance. He was a true monster." Ralphine divorced him, changed her name, and moved away with the kids, cutting all contact. Jerry claimed he loved her, but she never responded. Jan Whitney's body was found a month after his conviction in the Willamette River, identified by dental records. Linda Slawson's body was never found. Jerry's case changed how police handle sexual and missing persons cases, taking minor crimes like clothing theft seriously as red flags. Shaped criminal profiling, showing how killers can seem normal. For victims' families, his conviction brought no closure, only lasting pain from his violation of their loved one's dignity. Salem's sense of safety was shattered, making parents and women warier. Jerry's case is a textbook example of how a serial killer forms: childhood abuse, escalating fetishes, worsening crimes, and a fake normal life. His path from stealing shoes to murder shows how minor offenses can signal bigger dangers. Most chillingly, he never felt real remorse, seeing victims as objects for his pleasure. His intelligence and organization made him one of Oregon's deadliest killers. His story forces us to face dark truths about evil and the fragile line between normalcy and horror. 4 women, Linda Slawson, Jan Whitney, Karen Sprinker, and Linda Sally, lost their lives to his twisted desires. They were daughters, students, workers with dreams he destroyed. What's your take on this case? Does Jerry's rough childhood explain his crimes, or are some people just born evil? How could police better spot potential serial killers before they kill? Share your thoughts below. If you found this deep dive into Jerry Brutus informative, subscribe for more true crime stories. We cover cases across America, always respecting victims and their families, and focusing on the crimes and their impact. Hit like if you want more, and tell us in the comments what case you'd like next. Stay safe out there.